The screaming started at dawn. Commander Vexela's 4 arms trembled as she gripped the emergency communicator, her blue-scaled face pale with terror. Through the reinforced windows of the Xelian research station, she could see them moving through the crimson jungle below, dark shapes that seemed to flow like liquid death between the massive trees of Carath Prime. "Please," she whispered into the device, her voice cracking. "Anyone who can hear this transmission, we need immediate evacuation. The Shadow Maw Pack has found us. 300 light-years away aboard the human vessel." Defiant. Captain Marcus Chen looked up from his morning coffee. The distress signal had come through on the emergency frequency, cutting through the usual chatter of deep space communications. "Sarah, you getting this?" he called to his communications officer. Lieutenant Sarah Torres nodded grimly, her fingers dancing across her console. "It's coming from the Xelian research station on Carath Prime. They're reporting a Shadow Maw attack." The bridge fell silent. Every human present knew that name. Shadow Maws were living nightmares, creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. Standing 12 feet tall with razor-sharp claws and teeth that could slice through starship hull plating, they hunted in packs and showed no mercy. Worse, they were intelligent, smart enough to set traps, coordinate attacks, and hold grudges. Most civilized species had learned to simply abandon any world where Shadow Maws appeared. The creatures were too dangerous, too unpredictable. Even the mighty Corvan Empire, with their advanced military technology, had written off entire systems rather than face these apex predators. But humans were different. "Distance to Carath Prime?" Chen asked, already moving toward his captain's chair. 18 hours at maximum warp," replied Navigation Officer Kim Park. Chen pressed the ship-wide communications button. "All hands, this is the captain. We have a rescue mission. Xelian researchers are trapped on Carath Prime with confirmed Shadow Maw presence. I need all departments ready for hostile environment deployment in 15 minutes. Throughout the ship, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. This wasn't their first encounter with galactic predators. The Defiant was part of humanity's rapid response fleet, specifically designed for situations exactly like this. Back on Carath Prime, Commander Vexela huddled with her surviving team members in the station's reinforced safe room. Dr. Kelm, a tall insectoid Thraxian, clicked his mandibles nervously as he monitored their dwindling power levels. "The barrier won't hold much longer," he said, his translated voice tinged with despair. "Maybe 6 hours before the power cells fail completely." Outside, they could hear the Shadow Maws testing their defenses. Heavy impacts shook the walls as the creatures threw their considerable weight against the reinforced doors. Occasionally, a claw would screech against the metal, sending chills down every spine in the room. "Did anyone respond to our distress call?" asked Dr. Mira, a young Xelian xenobiologist who had joined the expedition to study Carath Prime's unique ecosystem. Now she wished she had never left the safety of her homeworld. Vexela shook her head. "The nearest Xelian fleet is 4 days away. The Corvan said they cannot spare any ships for what they called a suicide mission. The Galactic Council officially recommended that we prepare for the worst." A heavy silence fell over the group. Everyone knew what that meant. The galaxy had written them off as already dead. Then Vexela's communicator crackled to life. "Xelian Research Station, this is Captain Marcus Chen of the human vessel Defiant. We've received your distress signal and are en route to your position. Estimated arrival in 17 hours. Hold tight." The research team stared at the communicator in disbelief. Dr. Kelm was the first to speak. "Did he say humans?" Vexela nodded slowly. "They're actually coming." "But that's impossible," Dr. Mira whispered. "No one challenges Shadow Maws directly. It's considered madness across the galaxy." What the Xelian researchers didn't understand was that humans had a very different relationship with predators than the rest of the galaxy. While other species had evolved as prey animals or peaceful herbivores, Humans had clawed their way to the top of Earth's food chain through sheer determination and pack tactics. Aboard the Defiant, Chen was already meeting with his tactical team. The ship's armory buzzed with activity as Marines checked their equipment and scientists analyzed every piece of data they could find about shadow maws. "Sir," said Master Sergeant Rodriguez, the ship's senior Marine, "we've got 36 volunteers for the ground team. Standard protocol suggests 12 maximum for this type of operation." Chen smiled grimly. "These are shadow maws, Sergeant. We're going to need every advantage we can get." Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her research terminal. "Captain, I've been analyzing the behavioral patterns. Shadow maws hunt in packs of 8 to 12 individuals. They're ambush predators who rely on fear and intimidation. But here's the interesting part. There's no record in the galactic database of anyone actually fighting back against them successfully." "Because no one has tried," Chen replied. "Everyone runs, but humans don't run from predators. We hunt them." The statement sent a chill through the mixed crew. While the human personnel nodded in understanding, the alien crew members looked uncomfortable. The concept of actively hunting apex predators was foreign to most galactic civilizations. Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka, one of the few non-humans who had served alongside humans long enough to understand their mindset, spoke up. "Captain, the other species flee from shadow maws because they see them as unstoppable forces of nature, like earthquakes or solar flares. They don't think of them as animals that can be outsmarted and defeated." "Exactly," Chen said. "And that's going to be our advantage. We're not going to Kareth Prime to rescue those researchers and run away. We're going to eliminate the threat permanently." Hours passed aboard the research station. The power continued to drain, and the shadow maws grew more aggressive. The creatures had apparently realized that their prey was trapped and defenseless. So they were taking their time, playing with their food. Dr. Mira monitored the external sensors, watching dark shapes move through the jungle. "There are at least 10 of them out there," she reported. "They're setting up a perimeter around the station." Commander Vexila felt her hope fading. Even if the humans arrived as promised, what could one ship do against an entire pack of shadow maws? The creatures had destroyed entire fleets before. But she didn't understand human tactics. She didn't know about the weapons being prepared aboard the Defiant, or the detailed plans being formulated by minds that had spent millennia learning to hunt the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. As the Defiant dropped out of warp at the edge of the Karath system, Captain Chen stood on his bridge, studying the jungle world that filled their view screen. Somewhere down there, alien researchers were fighting for their lives against creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. "All stations report ready, Captain," Lieutenant Torres announced. Chen nodded. "Take us in. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when predators meet humans." The ship descended through Kareth Prime's atmosphere like a falling star, carrying humanity's answer to those who believed that some threats were simply too dangerous to face. Below, in the research station, Commander Vexila heard the distant rumble of engines and felt something she hadn't experienced in hours. Hope. The hunt was about to begin. The Defiant touched down in a clearing 2 kilometers from the research station, its landing thrusters scorching the alien vegetation. Captain Chen watched the tactical display as his sensors painted a clear picture of the situation below. "Thermal imaging confirms 12 shadow maws surrounding the station," reported Lieutenant Torres. "They're maintaining a loose perimeter, probably waiting for the power to fail completely." Master Sergeant Rodriguez studied the readings with professional interest. "Smart predators. They know their prey is trapped, so they're being patient. That's going to work against them." Chen activated the ship-wide communications. "All teams, this is the captain. We are go for Operation Pack Hunt. Remember, we're not just here to rescue civilians. We're here to send a message to every predator in the galaxy." Within minutes, The Defiant's cargo bay opened to reveal something that would have shocked any galactic observer. Instead of a small, cautious rescue team, 36 humans emerged in full combat gear. They moved with the coordinated precision of apex predators, their weapons gleaming in the alien sunlight. What made the sight even more remarkable was their confidence. While most species would approach shadow maws with terror and desperation, these humans radiated calm determination. They had studied their prey, prepared their weapons, and now they were going hunting. Dr. Reeves moved with the advance team, her scanner analyzing the jungle around them. Pheromone traces indicate the pack has been here for at least 3 days, she reported through the comm system. They're not just hunting for food, they're enjoying the psychological torture. That ends now, growled Sergeant Patricia Williams, leader of Alpha Team. She had faced down everything from polar bears to great white sharks during her military career. Alien predators were just another challenge. The humans spread out in a formation that would have puzzled most galactic military theorists. Instead of the tight defensive clusters favored by other species, they moved in loose, coordinated groups that could support each other while maintaining independence. It was pure pack behavior, refined over millennia of hunting Earth's most dangerous predators. Inside the research station, Commander Vexla felt the building shake as something massive struck the outer wall. The shadow maws were becoming more aggressive, sensing that their prey was weakening. "Power at 15%, reported Dr. Kelm, his insectoid features tight with stress. "The barriers will fail within the hour." Through the static-filled communicator, Captain Chen's voice reached them. "Research station, this is Defiant Ground Team. We have visual on your position and are beginning our approach. Stay low and away from the windows." "Captain?" Vexila responded, her voice shaking. "There are at least a dozen shadow maws out there. They're massive, intelligent, and they've been planning this attack for days. Please reconsider this mission." Chen's response was calm and confident. "Commander, I appreciate your concern, but you need to understand something about humans. We've been hunting predators for 300,000 years. These shadow maws may be new to us, but predator behavior is universal." Before Vexila could respond, a new sound echoed through the jungle. It was unlike anything she had ever heard, a series of coordinated calls that seemed to come from multiple directions at once. They weren't the roars or growls of the shadow maws. These sounds were controlled, purposeful, and somehow more frightening than the alien predators. The humans were calling to each other like wolves closing in on their prey. Sergeant Williams crouched behind a massive tree trunk, watching through her scope as a shadow maw patrol moved past her position. The creature was even more terrifying than the files had indicated. 12 feet of muscle, claws, and intelligent malevolence. Its dark hide seemed to absorb light, making it nearly invisible in the jungle shadows. But Williams wasn't afraid. She was calculating. "Alpha Team, I have eyes on Target 1, she whispered into her comm. "Single male. Approximately 800 pounds patrolling the eastern perimeter. Predictable route, 3-minute intervals." "Beta Team confirms Target 2, came Sergeant Chen's voice. No relation to the captain, he was a demolitions expert who had volunteered for the mission specifically because it involved dangerous predators. "Female, slightly larger, covering the northern approach." The reports continued to come in as each human team identified their targets. What the Shadow Maws didn't realize was that they were no longer the hunters. They had become the hunted. Dr. Reeves, monitoring from her position with the support team, noticed something remarkable in her readings. "Captain, the Shadow Maws' stress indicators are beginning to spike. They're detecting something in the environment that's making them nervous." Chen smiled grimly. "They're starting to realize they're not alone in these woods anymore." The first strike came without warning. Sergeant Williams had studied the patrol pattern for 20 minutes, timing her move to perfection. As the massive shadow maw passed beneath her tree, she dropped silently onto its back, driving a specially designed vibro knife between its shoulder blades. The creature's death cry echoed through the jungle, a sound of shock and pain that no shadow maw pack had ever heard before. For the first time in their species' history, one of their own had been killed by prey. The psychological effect was immediate. The remaining shadow maws abandoned their patient siege and began moving erratically, their hunting formation breaking down as they tried to locate this new threat. Target 1 eliminated, Williams reported calmly. Moving to support Beta Team. Inside the research station, the alien scientists listened in amazement to the human communications. The tone was professional, almost casual, as if hunting galactic apex predators was routine work. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Mira. "No one hunts shadow maws. They're the hunters, not the prey." Commander Vexila was beginning to understand that humans operated by different rules than the rest of the galaxy. While other species had developed technology and civilization by avoiding predators, humans had apparently achieved the same results by becoming better predators themselves. The second kill came from Sergeant Chen's demolitions expertise. He had rigged a tree with explosive charges, then used himself as bait to lure a shadow maw into the kill zone. The resulting blast not only eliminated the target, but sent a clear message to the remaining pack members. "Beta Team, target down," came his report. "Switching to pursuit tactics." The shadow maws were now in full retreat mode, but they had nowhere to run. The humans had surrounded them with a perimeter that tightened like a noose. Every time the aliens tried to break through, they found themselves facing calm, determined humans who showed no fear and gave no quarter. Sergeant Rodriguez, coordinating the operation from his command position, watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "Captain, we have them contained. 10 targets remaining, grouped in the ravine south of the research station." "Understood," Chen replied. "Begin the final phase." What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. Instead of calling in orbital bombardment or heavy weapons, the humans did something that no civilized species would have considered. They entered the ravine on foot and engaged the shadow maws in direct combat. The battle was fierce, but brief. The shadow maws fought with the desperation of cornered predators, but they were facing opponents who had learned to hunt in packs before they had ever left their home world. Every human move was coordinated, every attack planned to support the overall strategy. When the last shadow maw fell, an eerie silence settled over the jungle. For the first time in recorded galactic history, an entire pack of the galaxy's most feared predators had been eliminated by what they had considered prey. Sergeant Williams approached the research station, her armor scorched but her bearing confident. "Station personnel, this is Alpha Team. The perimeter is secure. You can come out now." Commander Vexila emerged from the safe room on trembling legs, unable to believe what her eyes were telling her. Scattered throughout the clearing were the bodies of creatures that had terrorized entire star systems, and standing among them were 36 humans who looked like they had just completed a routine training exercise. "How?" she whispered. "How is this possible?" Captain Chen stepped forward, removing his helmet to reveal a face that was calm and somewhat tired. "Commander, you have to understand that humans see predators differently than most species. We don't run from them or fear them. We study them, learn their weaknesses, and then we hunt them." Dr. Kelm stared at the human captain in amazement. "But these are shadow maws. They've been the apex predators of the galaxy for millions of years." Chen shrugged. "Not anymore. As of today, they're an extinct species." The word sent a chill through every alien present. In a single afternoon, these humans had accomplished what the entire galactic community had considered impossible. They had not just defeated shadow maws, they had made them extinct. As the evacuation shuttle prepared to lift off, carrying the rescued researchers to safety, Commander Vexilla found herself looking back at the human soldiers who remained behind to conduct what they called site cleanup. They were burning the Shadow Maw bodies and erasing all traces of the pack's presence. "Captain Chen," she called out, "what happens now? Will your people report this to the Galactic Council?" Chen smiled, and for the first time, Vexilla saw something predatory in that expression. "Oh, we'll report it, Commander. We want everyone in the galaxy to know what happens when predators threaten human allies." As the shuttle rose into the sky, Vexilla realized that something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. The humans had not just rescued them, they had announced their presence as the new apex predators in civilized space, and unlike the Shadow Maws, humans protected their pack. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within 48 hours of the Karath Prime incident, every major news network was broadcasting the impossible story. The humans, those strange, aggressive mammals from the Outer Rim, had done what no civilized species had ever accomplished. They had hunted Shadow Maws to extinction. In the halls of the Galactic Council on Centris Prime, emergency sessions were called to discuss what many were calling the human question. Ambassador Threlka of the Zelian Republic stood before the assembled delegates, her forearms trembling not with fear but with something approaching awe. "Honored delegates," she began, her translated voice carrying throughout the vast chamber. "3 days ago, my people wrote off our research team as dead. Shadow Maws had cornered them on Karath Prime, and we all accepted that there was nothing to be done. The creatures were simply too dangerous to confront." She paused, letting her words sink in. The humans disagreed. High Counselor Vorn of the Corvin Empire shifted uncomfortably in his floating chair. The Corvin had built the galaxy's most powerful military force, yet even they had never dared to face Shadow Maws directly. "Ambassador Threlka, surely you exaggerate. No species simply walks up to apex predators and eliminates them like pests." "I am not exaggerating," Threlka replied firmly. "I have spoken directly with Commander Vexilla, who witnessed the entire event. 36 humans landed on Karath Prime and systematically hunted down an entire pack of Shadow Maws. They didn't use orbital bombardment or advanced technology. They went into the jungle and killed them with personal weapons and coordination tactics." A ripple of unease passed through the assembly. Delegate Mor Khan of the Hive Confederation clicked his mandibles nervously. "This is disturbing. If humans can eliminate Shadow Maws so easily, what does this say about their threat level to peaceful civilizations?" Meanwhile, on Earth, the human government was dealing with a very different kind of meeting. President Sarah Martinez sat in the Situation Room with her top advisors, watching intelligence reports flood in from across the galaxy. "Ma'am," said General Harrison, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, "we're receiving communication requests from over 200 different species. Everyone wants to know our intentions regarding galactic predator populations." Dr. Angela Foster, Director of Xenobiological Studies, leaned forward. "It's not just curiosity, Madam President. Several reports indicate that predator attacks on civilian populations have increased dramatically in the past year. Species that have never been threats before are becoming aggressive, expanding their territories, challenging established borders." "Are you saying the galaxy has a predator problem?" Martinez asked. "I'm saying the galaxy has been ignoring a predator problem," Foster corrected. "For thousands of years, civilized species have simply abandoned any territory where dangerous predators appeared. The result is that these creatures have been breeding unchecked, growing bolder, and expanding their ranges." General Harrison nodded grimly. "The Shadow Maw incident wasn't an isolated case, ma'am. Our analysis suggests there are at least 50 known predator species that are actively threatening civilian populations across the galaxy. Everyone just accepts it as the cost of living in space." President Martinez stood and walked to the large display screen showing a map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated reported predator incidents, and there were hundreds of them. "This ends now," she said quietly. "Draft a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them that humanity is officially offering our services as predator control specialists." The response to humanity's offer was swift and divided. Progressive species like the Xelians and the peaceful Etherian Collective immediately requested assistance with their own predator problems. More conservative powers like the Corvan Empire and the Thraxian hegemony viewed the human announcement as a thinly veiled threat. Captain Chen found himself at the center of this galactic controversy when the Defiant received its next assignment. They were being sent to the Vega system, where a species called the Bone Crushers had been terrorizing mining operations on 3 different worlds. "Sir," Lieutenant Torres reported as they dropped out of warp, "we're receiving multiple distress signals from the mining platforms. The Bone Crushers have been hitting them for weeks." Dr. Reeves studied the initial scans with fascination. These creatures are even larger than shadow maws. 15 feet tall, armored hide, and they hunt in coordinated packs of up to 20 individuals. The miners have been completely helpless against them. Master Sergeant Rodriguez reviewed the tactical data with professional interest. "Ma'am, these things have been picking off mining crews for 2 months. The Corvan military officially classified the entire system as a no-go zone last week." Chen smiled. "Then I guess it's lucky the miners called us instead of the Corvan." The mining platform, New Prosperity, hung in space above Vega 7, its hull scarred from repeated bone crusher attacks. Platform manager Crix, a nervous Thraxian, met the human team at the docking bay with barely concealed desperation. "Captain Chen," he said, his translated voice shaking. "Thank the Void you're here. We've lost 17 miners in the past month. These creatures, they're not just hunting for food. They seem to enjoy causing terror." Chen nodded. "That's typical predator behavior when prey becomes too easy. They start playing with their food." He looked around the platform's common area, noting the fearful faces of the mining crew. "How many bone crushers are we dealing with?" "Our best count is 18, replied Chief Miner Stora, a tough Xelian woman who had somehow maintained her authority despite the crisis. "They've established a nest in the deep tunnels of Shaft 7. Every time we try to seal them in, they break through our barriers and hit another section." Dr. Reeves consulted her scanner readings. "Captain, the tunnel system is extensive. Perfect hunting ground for pack predators. They can attack from multiple directions and retreat when threatened." "Sounds familiar," Rodriguez commented. "Like fighting in a cave system back on Earth." Chen turned to address the entire mining crew. "Listen carefully. You've been thinking about this all wrong. You've been treating the bone crushers like a natural disaster, something to hide from and hope goes away. But they're just animals. Big, dangerous animals, but still animals. And humans have been hunting dangerous animals since before we invented fire." Over the next 6 hours, the humans did something that shocked the mining crew. Instead of setting up defensive positions or trying to seal off the tunnels, they went on the offensive. Using tactics developed for fighting everything from cave bears to tunnel-dwelling predators, the human teams entered the bone crusher territory and systematically dismantled their entire social structure. The key was understanding pack dynamics. Dr. Reeves had identified the alpha female through pheromone analysis, and the humans targeted her first. With the pack leader eliminated, the remaining bone crushers fell into confusion and panic. What followed was a methodical extermination that left no survivors. "Mining platform New Prosperity. This is Captain Chen," came the calm voice over the comm system 6 hours after the humans had entered the tunnels. "All hostiles have been eliminated. You can resume normal operations." Chief Miner Stora stared at her readouts in disbelief. "All of them? 18 bone crushers? Eliminated in 6 hours?" "Affirmative," Chen replied. "We've also sealed the deep tunnels they were using as breeding grounds and sterilized the area. You shouldn't have any more predator problems. As word of the Vega system's success spread, more requests for human assistance began pouring in. The peaceful Etherian collective requested help with something called storm wraiths that had been terrorizing their agricultural worlds. The independent traders of the Frontier Alliance asked for assistance with deep stalkers that were making their trade routes impassable. Back on Earth, President Martinez called an emergency cabinet meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation. In the past 2 weeks, we've received over 500 requests for predator control services. Half the galaxy wants our help, and the other half is terrified of what we represent. General Harrison pulled up a galactic map covered in mission requests. Ma'am, at this rate, we'll need to mobilize every military unit we have just to respond to the emergency cases. Dr. Foster looked up from her xenobiological reports. Madam President, I think we need to understand what's really happening here. These aren't isolated predator attacks. This is a galaxy-wide ecosystem collapse. Explain, Martinez ordered. For thousands of years, civilized species have been retreating from predators instead of managing them, Foster continued. The result is that predator populations have exploded beyond sustainable levels. They're running out of natural prey and expanding into civilized space out of desperation and hunger. So what are you suggesting, Doctor? Foster took a deep breath. I'm suggesting that the galaxy needs a systematic predator management program. And like it or not, humans are the only species with the capability and mindset to implement it. 3 months after the Karath Prime incident, the first human predator response fleet was officially commissioned. 50 ships, trained crews, and specialized equipment designed for one purpose, maintaining the balance between civilization and the dangerous predators that threatened it. Captain Chen found himself promoted to admiral and placed in charge of the new fleet. His first official mission was to the core worlds themselves, where something called the Void Hunters had begun attacking passenger ships near the capital. As the fleet prepared to depart Earth, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Apex Predator, watching the stars ahead. Behind him, his crew worked with the calm efficiency that had become the hallmark of human predator teams. Admiral, reported his new communications officer, we're receiving a message from the Galactic Council. They're officially requesting our assistance with what they're calling the Void Hunter Crisis. Chen smiled. 6 months ago, the galaxy had seen humans as just another minor species from the outer rim. Now they were being called upon to solve problems that had plagued civilized space for millennia. Send our response, Chen ordered. Tell them the human predator response fleet is en route. Throughout the galaxy, predators that had terrorized entire star systems for generations would soon learn what their ancestors on Earth had discovered long ago. When humans decide something is a threat to their pack, that threat doesn't survive. The age of apex predators was over. The age of human space had begun. And unlike the predators they replaced, humans protected those who couldn't protect themselves. The galaxy was about to become a much safer place, whether it wanted to or not.